You've crocheted every octagon, square, and triangle, and now it's time to turn that stack of beautiful pieces into a blanket. Hey gang, Jane here. Today is the day we begin bringing this blanket together. Now, before we jump into the actual crochet join, I want to share how I prepare my pieces for the next process. I feel this is an important step that will make the whole process feel so much easier and more relaxed. That's what today's video is all about. Now, this isn't about blocking. I actually do not find I need to block my squares when I use this small stitch crochet join method, unless of course they're really misbehaving, but I find this join gives them space to breathe and they just seem to lay nicely for me. So I do have another video on blocking if you still feel you would like to. I'll link to that below in the description. However, I don't block in this case. So what we are going to talk about is taking a little time now to plan your layout and organize your pieces. And this will make the joining videos that follow much smoother and far more enjoyable. So grab your finished pieces, clear a nice size space, and let's get everything ready. If you're following along with my snow lily pattern, you should have 20 snow lily octagons, 12 snowdrop squares, and 14 snowdrift triangles ready to go. I'm laying mine out in a 4x5 arrangement. This is the octagons that I measure this by. You can also adjust the overall size by increasing or reducing the number of pieces. My finished throw measures about 42 by 52 inches. The octagons are 8 inches each. The squares are 4 inches each. And the triangles, they just fill in the outer edges to complete the shape. So just remember that the join is going to add a bit of extra width and height, and the border will increase the final measurement slightly as well. So you can work out the math from there, but to make it easy, this one is already worked out for you. So to begin, I lay the octagons out on a large flat surface, usually my living room floor, which means I usually have to do it when nobody else is home and the cats are sleeping. These are the main part of the design, the showpiece, so to speak. Now, again, in the pattern, each individual piece is numbered in the chart with its colorway, so you can follow the exact layout I used, or you can try out your own. I play around with this step for a while, paying attention to how the colors relate to each other, trying not to bunch too many of them together in one spot. Once I'm happy with this initial placement, I add in the squares in the spaces in between. And I do this where they feel like they balance out the colors. Finally, I place the triangles around the outside edges to fill in the gaps, give me that nice straight throw edge. And again, I pay attention to how the colors look for the overall feel. Then comes the shifting, adjusting, stepping back, and usually a coffee break or two to see if it feels right. Once I'm happy with the layout, I organize the pieces for joining. I use binder rings that I pick up at my local discount store, but you could just as easily use a scrap of yarn or a string to hold your groups together. Then I add a simple label to each ring to mark the row number that it represents. So this time around, I just used small post-it notes with a hole punched through it, and then I wrote the name of the row on it. Now for this blanket, I'll be using my crochet join method. It's similar to the regular join as you go that I've used in the past, but it isn't fully continuous this time. I'll be cutting the yarn after every second row and then rejoining it in a new spot for the next 2 rows. So I'll explain that clearly as we move through the joining videos, but basically this was to keep the outer edges balanced and symmetrical. So I organize the pieces by rows as that is how I join them, and I find it so much easier this way because I can relax and join them over time without losing my place or having the curious cat walk in and knock the pile over and then chaos erupts, and well, you know how that goes. Okay, now let's take a look at how we're going to join these. I'm going to explain this first by using a diagram so that you can understand why I'm stacking the squares the way that I am on these rings. So we begin with row 1 and we work from right to left on the diagram. This row starts with an octagon, then a triangle, and alternating across, finishing with an octagon. Then row 2 continues along the bottom edge of row 1, working from left to right on the diagram, starting with a triangle and then adding squares across and finishing with a triangle. At this point, I cut the yarn. I do this to keep the outer edge consistent. There really wasn't a clean way to balance the edges without restarting the yarn at a new location. It got a little tricky because I would have had to crochet down this edge, but on the other side, there was no crochet on that edge. But I'm getting a little ahead of myself here, so I'll explain that a little better when we're actually joining them. Back to our diagram. Row 3 begins again on the right-hand side of the diagram, and we work from right to left across the bottom of the previous row. It's made up of entirely octagons. So you'll see when we get to the joining, this involves rotating your work every row, so we'll always be technically working in a normal direction. I'm just referring to directions as you see them on the diagram. So from there, the pattern repeats, row 2 and row 3. Row 4 will repeat row 2, row 5 will then repeat row 3, and you'll just continue on to however many rows you've decided for yours, or with mine, you'll work right until row 9, at which point row 10 is going to be different because it's all triangles, so it's going to be done a little bit different. Now let's look at how this works in the real world. We go back to our layout that for me is spread out across my living room. I grab my rings and post-it note tags and start loading the pieces on just like I showed you in the diagram. The first row will have both octagons and triangles, and I start at the top left of the layout and put the pieces on, making sure they're all facing the same direction on the ring. I usually put my tag on, then I put the pieces on in the order that I'll be working them. However you do it, the most important thing is that they will be able to come off the ring in the right order, facing the same way. You can even stack them first, then slip the ring on after, whatever makes the most sense for you. So in the first row, octagon 1 is on top with triangle number 2 under it, and octagon number 3 under that, and so on. Once you have the first row, then you move on to row number 2. This one will be a triangle on top and then the squares, ending with a triangle. These will be loaded from the left side to the right because this is the order we'll be working them as I showed you on the diagram. Continue to load up your rings, working back and forth across your layout until you have them all on the rings. Using my layout, you will have 10 rings for 10 rows. Now you can put them all in a basket and you're all ready to start joining them. Nice and organized. Totally cat-proof. So taking the time to organize everything now really does make the joining process calmer and more relaxing. So take some time, organize your pieces the way that you like them or the way that I have them listed in the charts, whatever works for you. Then load up your rings and I will meet you in the next video where we'll begin the joining with row number 1. See you there.